of Wisdom of Nagarjuna. 8 Yen Lamat. Composed by the Bodhisattva Nagarjuna and translated by the Tripitaka Dharmakarya Kumarajava of the land of Kaucha. Under the later Tsin. Translated from the French. By Gelongma Karma Migmi Chodron. Chapter 27. The Virtue of Exertion. I. The nature of exertion. Question. What are the characteristics of exertion? Answer. Dynamism in activity, ease in enterprises, firmness of will, ardor of spirit, perseverance in action. These 5 things constitute the characteristics of exertion. Moreover, according to the words of the Buddha, the characteristic of exertion is bodily and mental non-withdrawal. Pankavadhajataka. In a former lifetime, the Buddha Sakyamuni was once a merchant chief. At the head of some merchants, he went into a mountainous and difficult region where a Raksasa demon stopped him, saying, "Stop! Do not move. I do not allow you to go on." The chief of the merchants struck him with his right fist, but his fist remained glued to the demon and could not be detached. Then he struck him with his left fist, but it, too, could not be disengaged. Next, he kicked him with his right foot, but the foot remained stuck. He kicked him with his left foot, but the same thing happened. He butted him with his head, but his head was stuck also. The demon asked him, "Now what are you going to do? Will you give in finally?" The Bodhisattva answered, "Although the 5 parts of my body are fettered, never will my mind give in to you. I will fight you by the power of my exertion and never surrender to you." The demon, amused, said to himself, "This man's courage is very great," and speaking to the merchant, said, "The power of your exertion is great. You definitely will not give in. I will let you go." The ascetic acts in the same way in order to conquer the good dharmas. During the 1st, 2nd, and 4th quarters of the night, he recites the sutras, practices meditation, and seeks the true nature of dharmas. Not obstructed by fetters, his body and mind are free of withdrawing. This is the nature of exertion. Exertion is a mental event characterized by diligent and unceasing action. It follows the mind and arises with it. Sometimes it includes investigation and analysis. Sometimes it does not involve investigation, but only analysis. Sometimes it involves neither investigation nor analysis. As is said fully in the Abhidharma, diligent and relentless cultivation of all the good dharmas is called exertion. Among the 5 faculties, it is called the faculty of exertion. The progression of the faculties is called power of exertion. Inasmuch as it opens the mind, it is called enlightenment of exertion. Inasmuch as it comes to buddhahood and nirvana, it is called right effort. Inasmuch as it diligently fixes the mind on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, it is called the factor of exertion. Among the 4 infallible knowledges, it is the gateway of energy. Among the 4 bases of miraculous power, exertion is zeal. Among the 6 virtues, it is the virtue of exertion. Question. Earlier you praised exertion and here you are speaking of the characteristics of exertion, but what exertion is it? Answer. It is the exertion that is applied to reuniting all the good dharmas. 2. The virtue of exertion. Question. But here in a treatise dedicated to the virtue of exertion, it is necessary to speak of the virtue of exertion. Why do you speak about exertion being applied to all good dharmas? Answer. From the time of his first resolve, the Bodhisattva applies himself with exertion to all the good dharmas. Then little by little he acquires the virtue of exertion. Question. This too much about exertion in regard to all good dharmas. Talk about the virtue of exertion now, for we already know exertion in regard to all good dharmas. Answer. Exertion that aims at obtaining the state of Buddhahood is called virtue. Exertion that has all the other good dharmas in view is called just exertion and not virtue. Question. Why is diligent application to all good dharmas not called virtue of exertion, and why it is only the exertion of the bodhisattva that is called virtue? Answer. Virtue indicates arrival at the other shore. Now people of the world, Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas cannot practice the virtues completely. Therefore there is no virtue of exertion in them. Moreover, these people do not have great loving kindness or great compassion. They abandon beings and do not seek the 10 powers. The 4 fearlessnesses. The 18 special attributes, omniscience, the infallible knowledges, the liberations, the immense body, the immense rays, the immense sounds, the immense morality, concentrations, and wisdom. This is why exertion among men is not described as virtue. Moreover, with unceasing exertion the bodhisattva one-pointedly seeks Buddhahood. Such effort merits the name of virtue of patience. Thus the bodhisattva Hao-che, seeking the philosopher's stone, filtered the water of the ocean using his nerves and his bones, and did not stop working before having found this philosopher's stone. He gave it to beings to ease their sufferings. The bodhisattva thus accomplishes difficult things. This is his virtue of exertion. Moreover, when the bodhisattva who considers exertion as fundamental also practices the other 5 virtues, his is truly practicing the virtue of exertion of the bodhisattva. Just as a whole collection of medicines is needed to cure a serious illness, so exertion alone is not enough for the bodhisattva. If he uses his exertion alone without practicing the other 5 virtues, he would not be exercising the virtue of exertion which characterizes the bodhisattva. Moreover, by practicing exertion, the bodhisattva does not lean on material benefits, wealth, nobility, or power. He does not pursue his own personal interest, or rebirth among the gods, Cakravartin kings, as Brahma, or as Sakratavendra. He does not seek nirvana for himself. He wants only to reach the state of Buddhahood and do good for beings. This is the nature of disinterestedness that constitutes the virtue of exertion in the bodhisattva. Moreover, the exertion of the bodhisattva is applied in the practice of all good dharmas and mainly in great compassion. The good father loves his son. If he has only one son and the latter contracts a serious illness, he one-pointedly seeks a remedy to cure his sickness. Thus the energetic bodhisattva in whom loving kindness predominates will not cease until he has saved all beings. Finally, in the energy that characterizes the bodhisattva, knowledge of the true nature of things is a major element. Practicing the 6 virtues in these conditions constitutes the virtue of exertion belonging to the bodhisattva. Question. The true nature of dharmas is unconditioned and non-fabricated. Now exertion is conditioned and fabricated. Why would the true nature be the main element? Answer. Although he knows that the true nature is unconditioned and unfabricated, by virtue of his original vow and his great compassion, the bodhisattva wishes to save beings. This is why, in the unfabricated, he uses the power of his exertion to save and liberate all beings.